Okay, also what we're going to do in this recording is look at the reinforcing ligaments of some of the complex joints. We'll have the hip, the elbow, and the knee. Unfortunately, the shoulder is not shown here. I don't have a picture of the shoulder with me, but just remember with the shoulder, you only have to know two of the reinforcing ligaments. That's the glenohumeral ligament, which is that big ligament that kind of wraps up and around the joint, and then the coracohumeral ligament, which is the ligament that's at the very top or superior. So let's go ahead and start here with the hip. I have two different views of the hip, so I'm going to label this one ant for anterior, and then this one is the posterior view. So with that, guys, the key thing to remember with this is, or with these reinforcing ligaments of the hip, is which bone of the hip does it attach to. So remember, there are three bones associated with the hip. That's the ilium, the ischium, and the pubic bone, or pubis. So again, ligaments tend to be named for where they attach. So there's three reinforcing ligaments here of the hip that we ask you to know. That's the iliofemoral, ischiofemoral, and pubifemoral ligaments. So just as a reminder, remember that the upper portion here, so this upper portion here, or on the posterior view, basically this whole area here, that would represent the ilium. Now, if you look closely here, you will see where this ligament attaches and then runs down to the femur. Or on the anterior view, I'll outline in black, you can see it here. Now, it does also run around the front, so this whole ligament located here would represent the iliofemoral ligament. Again, focus on where the attachment is of the ligament to the hip. And again, in this case, it's to the ilium. Okay, so the next thing we have here is looking at the anterior view. You see the strip here and also here. And this bone as a whole would represent the pubic bone. So this band here and here would represent, and I'll just outline this one in green. So this would be the pubifemoral ligament. I apologize, my stylus is not doing too well. So it's making writing difficult, but pubifemoral ligament there. Now you do notice that on the posterior view, we do not see the pubifemoral ligament because remember the pubic bones face anterior, face forward. Okay, our last one is the ischiofemoral ligament. The ischium is this bone here on the posterior side, or again you can see a little bit of it tucking away back here. And so the ligament that runs from our ischium to the femur here, this is the iliofemoral. So you'll see this nice strip, and again, a little bit over there, this is the ischiofemoral ligament. Okay, so with that, y'all, those are the three reinforcing ligaments of the hip. Okay, our second complex joint is the knee, and what you'll notice here is I have it bent, okay? So, if you were to see this in the lab, it would be straight, so the knee would be straight, but I've bent the knee here so that we can see the intracapsular ligaments. So remember, there are 5 ligaments we ask you to know for the knee, and we classify knee joints whether they're outside of the joint capsule or inside the joint capsule. If they're outside of the joint capsule, we call them extracapsular ligaments, and if they're within the joint capsule, they are intra or within capsular ligaments. So with that, the 3 extracapsular ligaments we ask you to know is this one located here, here, and here. Now, let's start with the one that's peeled back. So you've all seen it in lab how this would come straight up here, but it is peeled here, and this ligament represents the patellar ligament. Let me use a different color here. So this would be the patellar ligament. If the picture was just a little further up, so a little bit going this way, you would actually see the patella or the kneecap located within this tissue here. Okay, the next two are the tibial collateral and fibular collateral ligaments. And the key with this, y'all, is figuring out, well, which bone is the tibia and the fibula. So you can see here this wide portion of the bone here and how it narrows. And then you see this very small, slender bone located here. So remember, the small, slender bone running to the lateral portion of our legs, this would represent the fibula, and then this large bone that would come down anterior here, this would represent the tibia. Now, with that being said, our two ligaments represent the tibial collateral and fibular collateral ligament. So the tibial collateral is going to run from the femur down to our tibia. Okay, so you can see where it would attach there. So this strip located here, this is what we call the tibial collateral ligament. And I'm just going to put the letter L here for ligament. Okay, so L for ligament. Now, if we come to the opposite side over here, you'll see, okay, here is our fibula, this small, slender bone here, running from the femur down to the head of the fibula there. This would represent the fibular collateral ligament. And again, I'll just put L here for ligament. Okay, so those are our three extracapsular ligaments, okay? We then have the intracapsular ligaments, and they are the cruciate ligaments. The word cruciate comes from the Latin to mean cross. And so if we look here, you will see this band here and this band here tucking away. And if you look carefully, you can see how this crosses behind the anterior. Okay, so this is the front of the knee. So this band that comes straight out towards the front, this would be our anterior cruciate ligament. And I'll just highlight it green here. So that strip located there, that would be our anterior cruciate ligament. You often hear this abbreviated as our ACL, but again, we need to make sure to write it out in a lab practical or a lab quiz, okay? All right, now, so if this strip to the front is the anterior cruciate ligament, this one tucking behind is the posterior cruciate ligament, okay? Now, in lab, so I only have this one view, which I'll highlight it blue. I only have this one view of the picture, but remember in lab, if we rotate the image around, you can see the posterior cruciate ligament from the back. And that's where we would ask it from. But at least from this image, just so you could see where it would be located, this is the posterior cruciate ligament. Okay. Now, the last couple things we ask you to identify with the knee deal with the menisci. Okay? Remember that anytime a word, in anatomy at least, where the word ends in I, that is plural, so the singular ends in US. So we have our medial and lateral menisci, but we have a medial meniscus and lateral meniscus. The menisci are pads of fiber cartilage that help absorb shock and pressure on our knee joint as we walk, run, jump. And then they're also there to ensure that weight is distributed evenly throughout our knee. If you look at the model, what you will see are these little white rings. So you have a white ring here and a white ring here. And these two rings represent the medial meniscus and lateral meniscus. Now the question becomes, well, how can we tell medial from lateral? So remember, as we started this, we were focused on our two bones here, the fibula running here, and then this thicker bone here, this is our tibia. Remember, the fibula runs lateral, okay? So all you have to do to get this correct is find your fibula and then just go straight up, okay? So the meniscus directly above our fibula, I'll outline this. So basically this ring located here, fibula side, that is the, black's not a good choice here, that is the lateral meniscus. And so if you can get the lateral meniscus, the medial meniscus would just be this green thing over here. So, oh, it's not green. The ink is green. The white pad over here, medial side, that is the medial meniscus. Okay. Alright, our third complex joint represents the elbow, and again, in my opinion, this is the most difficult, and again, it's not because of the ligaments, it's simply because of the way the model is. All the white starts to just blend in together. So before I even start, I do want to start outlining here. So the first thing I'm going to outline, and hopefully you'll see here, is this V, okay? So in class or in lab, I'll talk about find this V, or find this greater than less than sign, okay? And why that's important to us is this helps to separate the various ligaments. So there are 3 reinforcing ligaments we ask you to know with the elbow. That is the ulnar collateral ligament, radial collateral ligament, and then the annular ligament, okay? Now, real quickly here, be careful. The first thing you need to do, and it's a little cut off, this picture, but with this model, make sure you're comfortable with which side is medial and lateral, okay? So this would be our humerus here, single bone coming in, which is the arm bone, and then you see 2 bones, one here and one here. And again, on the model, you can actually see the 2 separate bones. Why this is important, y'all, is if you can remember that the ulna runs on the medial side, which again, ulna to the pinky, and the radius runs thumb side, which is lateral. So ulna is medial, pinky side, radius is lateral, thumb side. So when you look at the model, you will see this large bony knot that comes off to the side here. We learned about this for our second practical. Remember, this is what we call the medial epicondyle. In this case, the key word is medial. Okay, so if this is the medial side, this bone running on the medial side here would represent the ulna. So guess which side the ulnar collateral ligament would be on? Right here, okay? And so if this is the ulna, this bone over here is the radius, so the radial collateral ligament would be on this side. So moral of that story, to make this simpler, make sure to find that medial epicondyle, that big bony knob that comes off to the side. And if you can find that, that's the ulna side. Opposite to that would be the radius or radial side. Okay, with that being said, since we now know this is the ulna, again, you will see this V. We're not interested in the V yet. We want this stuff in between the V. So what I outlined in red here, ulna side, this is our ulnar collateral ligament. And again, I'll just put L for ligament, okay? Now, what I have outlined in black here, what is outlined in black is the annular ligament. So you see the V, so you see how the V would join, and then it wraps around the front, okay? And the word annular, again, coming from Latin, stands for ring, or means ring. And that's what we're wrapping, that's what's happening. So the ligament joins and then wraps around. So this ligament here, this is the annular. You will see this both with a singular L or 2 L's. So the, I'm sorry, not 2 L's, N's. You can see singular N or 2 N's. So annular, A-N-N-U-L-A-R, or annular, A-N-U-L-A-R. Either one is accepted. Okay, now unfortunately, y'all, again with this image, I can't show you the radial. Let me at least write it up here. So the radial collateral ligament is on the radial side, which again is lateral. So somewhere over here, okay? So let me draw what I think it looks like. You're going to see something like this, okay? You'll see a small triangle with a long strip base. Again, when you look on this side of the model, you will see this triangle with this base, a long strip, okay? That long strip represents the radial collateral ligament. The branch here, the V again, is your annular, or it's a part of the annular. So what happens, like starting here, it splits off, then joins together, wraps around, and then it splits off again. And then what it splits into is the radial collateral ligament, a white band running straight across.